Do you wonder what's under this armor? Asked the alien princess. M. The sky of Marathex Prime bled with two suns, one gold, one pale white. Their mingling light spilled across jagged towers and the pale sand valleys below. A cargo freighter the size of a city block rumbled low across the horizon, its belly shedding sparks as atmospheric pressure gnawed at its rusted plates. On the surface, a human farmer named Elias Dunn leaned against a fence fashioned from collapsed landing struts. He was 35 years old, weathered by wind and work. His crops weren't crops in the earth sense. These were shimmering stalks of crystalline reeds, each capable of storing solar energy harvested from the twin suns. They powered towns, outposts, and sometimes entire colonies. Elias wasn't rich, but he was stubborn, and stubbornness had kept him alive. The galaxy beyond was full of war. Empires rose and fell, alien dynasties fought with fleets that spanned light years, and machines plotted in cold silence. Yet Elias cared only about his farm and his quiet valley, until the day an armored figure fell from the sky. The arrival. It began with a scream of burning metal overhead. Elias shielded his eyes as a fireball cut through the sky. The object slammed into the valley floor, blasting crystalline stalks into glowing shards. Dust boiled upward. Elias grabbed his plasma rifle. Not because he thought it would matter against whatever had fallen, but because it gave his shaking hands purpose. He trudged down the slope toward the crater. Inside lay not a ship, but a figure. She was encased in obsidian armor traced with pulsing violet veins. The helmet resembled a dragon skull, its visor an opaque shimmer. The figure struggled, tried to rise but failing, as if the gravity of Marathex was heavier than she'd expected. When Elias stepped closer, the figure spoke. Her voice was distorted, layered with static and strange harmonics. Do you wonder what's under this armor, human? Elias froze. He hadn't expected her to speak, much less in galactic common. I wonder a lot of things, he admitted, like whether you're friend or death itself. The armored figure gave a metallic laugh, sharp, almost bitter. Then she collapsed fully into the dust. Shelter. Elias had no business dragging her back to the farmhouse. She was heavy, impossibly so. Her armor seemed forged from black star matter, but something in her voice, some faint shred of weariness, compelled him. With a lev-lift sled and most of his strength, he managed to haul her inside. For hours she lay silent on his floor. The armor hissed and clicked, venting steam. Elias tended to his damaged crops, though his mind kept circling back. Finally, at dusk, the helmet visor flickered. With a grinding sigh, it split apart and folded back. Beneath it was not a monster, but a woman. Her skin was pale silver with faint scales glimmering along her jawline. Her eyes, slitted pupils surrounded by molten gold, studied him with unblinking intensity. I am Princess Serolith of the Phyrexian Dominion, she said, voice now clear and musical. Your farm lies far from the galactic lanes. That is why I fell here. I did not expect a human. Elias blinked. A princess? Crashing on my field? That's not exactly a common day for me. Serolith's lips curved into something like a smile, though tinged with sadness. The confession. Over the following days, Elias learned fragments of her story. The Phyrexian Dominion was one of the oldest empires, ruled by scaled monarchs who wore living armor forged in the hearts of suns. Serolith was heir to the throne, but she had fled. Her people were at war with the Voric Collective, a cybernetic hive bent on absorbing all life. But the Dominion was fractured, riddled with corruption. Serolith had discovered secrets. Her father, the Emperor, had made deals with the Voric, trading away border worlds in exchange for temporary peace. When she confronted him, he branded her a traitor. They sent hunters after me, she told Elias, staring at the twin suns through his farmhouse window. If they find me, I will be executed. If the Voric find me, I will be consumed. So I fled into the void, and fate hurled me into your valley. Elias listened in silence. He wasn't a politician, wasn't a soldier. He was just a farmer. But the raw honesty in her voice cut through him. One evening, as the suns bled into the horizon, she turned to him and asked again, almost softly this time, Do you wonder what's under this armor? Elias frowned. You showed me your face. Isn't that enough? She shook her head. The armor is more than metal. It is alive, bound to me. It feeds on my fear, my rage. To remove it is to reveal weakness. My people would never dare. But you, she hesitated. You are not my people. Elias set down his tools. Then let me see. The unveiling. The process was not simple. The armor resisted, its plates fusing to her like claws dug into flesh. Elias helped where he could, prying loose clamps, pouring solvent, whispering reassurances he wasn't sure she even needed. At last the armor receded, folding away like a living beast retreating into hibernation. Sarah stood before him, unarmored. Her form was lithe yet powerful, her silver skin shimmering faintly in the lantern light. Where the armor had dug deep, faint scars traced her arms and ribs. She trembled, not from weakness, Elias realized, but from vulnerability. He looked at her not as a princess, not as an alien, but as someone exhausted from carrying a burden too heavy for any soul. You're safe here, he said simply. For first time, Sarah allowed herself to believe it. The hunters. Peace never lasts long on Marathex Prime. One night, the valley shook with the roar of engines. From the ridge descended a trio of Phyrexian hunters, clad in blood-red armor. Their visors glowed like burning coals. Elias grabbed his rifle, but Sarah stepped in front of him, armor reattaching around her body in a ripple of black flame. She had no choice. Unarmored, she would be slaughtered. The hunters spoke in a chorus. Princess Saralith, by order of the Emperor, you are charged with treason. Come willingly or perish. Saralith's jaw tightened. Elias saw the fear in her eyes. Fear not of death, but returning to cage. The battle was furious. Plasma bolts scorched the farmhouse walls. Crystalline crops shattered like glass bombs. Saralith moved with breathtaking speed, her blade, an obsidian crescent, clashing against her pursuers. Sparks lit the night like fallen stars. Elias, though hopelessly outmatched, fired his rifle again and again, distracting one hunter long enough for Sarah to cleave through its chest. But there were still two. Elias was thrown back by a plasma blast, ribs cracking. As the hunters closed in, Sarah screamed, not a sound of rage, but of defiance. The living armor around her pulsed, devouring her fear and magnifying her strength. She struck and struck again until the valley fell silent. The hunters lay broken. Elias, coughing blood, struggled to rise. Sarah caught him, holding him with a gentleness he hadn't expected from a warrior princess. You fought beside me, she whispered. Why? Elias winced. Because you're not just a princess in armor. You're you. The choice. The victory was temporary. More hunters would come. And worse. Vorik scouts were already probing the sector. Elias and Sarah faced a choice. Flee together or fight for something greater. Sarah paced his farmhouse, armor whispering with every motion. If I run, I may live. But if I stay hidden forever, the galaxy burns. Elias, bruised and battered, leaned against the doorframe. Then maybe it's time you stop running. She looked at him, gold eyes burning. Alone I cannot. But with you, someone who sees past the armor, I might. The last stand at Marathex. When the Vorik came, they did not come quietly. Their ships were black swarms blotting out the suns. Machines poured from the sky like locusts. Elias and Sarah stood together in the valley. She wore her armor fully now, but this time it did not enslave her. It was part of her, tempered by his belief, by her own choice. The battle was chaos. Plasma and steel clashed with cold machinery. Elias fought with everything he had, though every swing left his body weaker. Sarah moved like living fire, her blade carving through metal, her voice rallying even Elias's broken courage. For hours they held. For hours they resisted. At last, the Vorik fleet withdrew, not defeated, but delayed. The valley was ruins, the farmhouse ash. Elias collapsed in the wreckage, vision blurring. Sarah knelt beside him, visor retracting. Her face was streaked with dust and blood. You should not have fought, she whispered. Elias forced a weak smile. You asked me once if I wonder what's under the armor. Now I know. It's you. And that's worth fighting for. Sarah's eyes shimmered, not with fire, but with tears. She pressed her forehead against his. Then I will fight for you. For us. For a galaxy that still has farmers who see princesses as more than armor. Epilogue. Months later, whispers spread across the galactic lanes. A rebellion was stirring. led by an exiled princess and her unlikely human ally. Worlds long abandoned by empires rose up, inspired by tales of Marathex Prime, the valley where a farmer and a fugitive had defied hunters and machines alike. And somewhere under twin suns, Seralith asked again, not in fear but in hope, "Do you wonder what's under this armor?" This time, Elias answered without hesitation, "No, because I already know who you are." And with that, the galaxy began to change.